I'm Larry Seaman for Derry Community Television, and with me today is Erich Whitney, who represents the Derry Rail Trail. It's always good to see you. We've done a number of projects together, and today we're actually going to be taking a look at the rail trail itself. But first of all, if you could just talk a little bit about your background, how you got here.
Sure. Well, I've been a resident of Derry now for about 13 years, and I've kind of looked around what's going on in town, and this is a project that kind of came to me sort of by happenstance. I went to Wyndham's rail trail opening a few years ago and got really excited about what they did in Wyndham, and said, you know, we have a railroad bed just like theirs, and we have a downtown, which seems like an obvious place to want to go. And I saw people using the existing bike path and said, what if we connected the two? Wouldn't that be kind of a cool thing for the community? So kept asking questions, who's doing this, and no one was doing it. So I figured, well, all right, I'll open my mouth, and here I am a year and a half later.
Now, you do this as a part-time thing. This is all volunteer?
It's all volunteer. Yeah.
What do you do on the side?
Professionally, I'm an engineer. I work at MITRE Corporation down in Bedford, Mass. But I have 2 young children here in Derry in the school system, and I'm raising my kids here. We go out and do things together as a family. We like to bike together. And it seemed like this was something that, maybe its time has come for Derry. So I think the railroad officially closed in the early to mid-'80s, at which point it was taken back by the state. And the town bought the property sometime back in the 80s. Since that happened, the railroad bed has been largely underutilized. It's been really it's just town property sitting there being underused. And about 7 years ago, a group got together and decided to put together the Derry Bike Path project. And that project, sort of what we're sitting on now and behind me, was designed to not so much reclaim the railroad bed, although it uses some of it. It was designed to connect all the schools and parks in Derry together in one continuous loop. So you'd have access off-road, for the most part, to be able to get around town. That project is really the seed or the start of what we're doing, because what we're doing is taking the southern corner of that bike loop and extending it down into London, into Wyndham. And I do hope someday to be able to go northward behind us and go into Londonderry. So.
We never mentioned as to where we are right now,
Okay.
But this is the spot where we have the plaques at the start of the Derry Trail. Is that right?
Yeah, this is the little pocket park that was built, and it's a wonderful little spot here in the middle of town to kind of celebrate this project.
Right, and it's right on Manning Street and West Broadway.
Correct.
Perhaps you could tell us what we're going to be doing today.
So today, I'm really excited to go out and give you some views of the existing trail, and show you visually what it is we're trying to do. I talked to you folks a year or so ago on television. I was in the studio, but that didn't really give you a good picture. Today, I hope to give you a real visual reference and get you excited about why it is we're out here and how what a beautiful thing this is for the community.
Okay, and we have a special guest with us, right?
Yes, we do. One of our board members is Dr. Knut Roalsvig, a physician here in town, and we've asked him to come and speak because one of the things that this trail does bring, the obvious question is, what do you use it for? Well, it's a recreation, gets families out and walking, biking, rollerblading together, and I think that's the health aspects of that are really important to understand and get the community behind.
Okay, we're back, and right now, as we were talking earlier, we have a special guest, Dr. Knut Roalsvig. Doctor, it's good to see you. Could you talk a little bit about your practice?
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm a physician in town. I've been in private practice in this area for about 21 years and have my office in Derry. So I've been a supporter of Derry and particularly saw the need for more recreational outlets in town. And I think the main incentive for me to become involved with the trail is the fact that we're seeing, and it's frustrating for physicians, but we're seeing more and more of our patients becoming overweight and really having a hard time with some of the conditions that are associated with that. So I wanted to really become involved in a recreational outlet that really was both accessible and also right here in town that my own patients could really partake of. Even though it's a beautiful state, a lot of what the state offers really is sort of outside of this area. So, and I think people are naturally drawn to a scenic area, and having something that's outside, I think, would be a great recreational opportunity for this area. I've been on the board, I think, about a year now, and I've been as active as my free time has allowed. I think my main role as a board member has really been to try to stimulate the medical community to back the rail trail, and I think we've been very successful with getting our colleagues, and especially perhaps in the primary care fields, but our colleagues to become active in supporting the trail as well, and I think we've done very well with that.
Right now we're over here, like I said, in the center of town. This path extends behind me up to Hood Park, and then behind Hood Park it goes over and crosses Crystal Ave, going over to Hood Middle School and behind Grinnell. From Grinnell you work your way over to the fire station, going behind the fire station. Then you go up 28 over to West Running Brook, across the street through the Fairways, down through a path through the Fairways, and then out the other side you end up at Alexander Carr and behind Parkland Medical Center. From there you turn across Birch Street and you go out through a side street and you end up back at the rail trail down in Nortonville. From there, if you look to your left southward, you'll see a small paved section down to Kendall Pond, and it's from that point on that we want to pave down to Wyndham, and then eventually come back up here to the northern section over to Hood Park, where the railroad bed diverts from the bike loop and go up to Londonderry. Well, here we are on the southern section of the current Derry bike path. One of the things that I've found with this existing trail is it's giving me a chance to get out with my kids in a safe environment to go on little bike rides. Now my children are young, and so we can go a mile, and that's a pretty long trip. Well, as the kids get older, you know, they want to go for longer trips and want to do it safely. And I have a really hard time bringing my 10-year-old daughter on a bike ride on the road. It's a very difficult situation to manage. As a parent, you really want to see your kids safe, but you also want to get them out. The wonderful thing about this project is it gets you get out with your kids, actively participate with them instead of just watching them from the sidelines. And that's a really wonderful thing. I think it teaches a good lesson, and I think it's an opportunity for parents to do something active. And the really wonderful thing about this particular project is that because of the existing railroad bed, it gives us the opportunity to do something very low cost, and provides the biggest bang for the buck, if you will. So that's why we're really excited about this. Well, here we are back on the Derry Rail Trail, and I'm standing just south of Bowers Road in the middle of a beautiful wetland spot that, other than the residents that live right near here, probably don't even know this exists. This is one of the spots that I think is a treasure in Derry that's horribly underutilized and underappreciated. Just a moment ago you saw pictures of Mitchell Pond in Wyndham. I look at this spot as our Mitchell Pond, our wildlife and wetland area that really could be appreciated. I envision having, once the trail is completed down through here onto Wyndham, having a spot here where people can stop and maybe have a little lunch or a little break on their trip down to Wyndham or back up to Derry. This is one of the most beautiful spots, and it's one of the treasures that we're opening up with our rail trail project.